Welcome to the 247 Sports YouTube channel. I'm National Recruiting Editor Brandon Huffman. And in just a moment, we're about to go to Mission Viejo, California, where one of the premier defensive backs in the country, Dijon Lee, is about to make his announcement. Now, recently, Dijon Lee named the top six of Texas, Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Washington, and USC. You can see he's one of the premier players in this class. The number 4 quarterback in the country, the number 2 player in the state of California, and a top 40 player nationally at 6'4", 190. USC, Washington are the West Coast schools that are in there. The 2 Lone Star State schools, Texas and Texas A&M, are also in there. And then Alabama and Georgia, the last 2 SEC champions, are also involved. So now we go to Mission Viejo, where we're joined by Dijon Lee, who is set to make his announcement. All right, Dijon, the floor is yours. It's your turn to make the decision that everybody's tuned in for. Where are you going to be playing your college football?
It was a long decision. Talked it over with my mom and my grandpa, all my family members and my teammates. And in the next 3 to 4 years, I'll be deciding to take my talents to University of New York.
All right, Dijon, at the end of the day, Alabama, Kalen DeBoer, Courtney Morgan, a bunch of big factors from the West Coast. So why Alabama at the end of the day?
The reason why I picked Alabama was because, I had a great relationship with all the coaches and players. I went there and just connected right away, so it just felt like home.
All right, Dijon, thanks so much. Congratulations on your commitment. Kalen DeBoer and Alabama come back to the West Coast and land one of the premier defensive backs in the country in Mission Viejo 4-star Dijon Lee. Now we bring in Brett Greenberg from 247 Sports to break down what this means for Alabama in landing Dijon Lee. Brett, obviously, with Kalen DeBoer having spent time on the West Coast, we saw Washington in that final group for Dijon Lee. How big of a pickup is this for Alabama to get one of the premier players and go to the West Coast to get him?
Yeah, you talked about it right there. I think geographically we've seen that Kalen DeBoer and this staff can go anywhere in the country and pick up commitments, and Dijon Lee is the latest to do that. Another Southern California guy who had a great relationship with defensive backs coach in Georgia and Dante Williams, and the relationship with Kalen DeBoer, Courtney Morgan, Mo Linguist, and a couple guys on the roster ultimately won out for another elite talent on the defensive side of the ball, and the secondary's certainly taking shape.
When you look at the caliber of player that Alabama is recruiting from the West Coast, you look back historically at the caliber of a player, does this show that it's not just what Nick Saban did, but it's the Alabama brand, it's the SEC brand, and more importantly, those relationships that DeBoer and Morgan had?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, one of those things that recruits are always telling me and people who commit, it's the same Alabama. And I think a big thing for Dijon Lee as well, I hit on it right there, but seeing Xavier Brown, Damani Jackson, Chuck McDonald in the fold right now as well. These are California guys in his same position group that feel comfortable with rolling with the tide, and he certainly is as well.
Last question. When you look at that presence in the secondary with Xavier Brown having the spring that he did with Chuck McDonald and Dijon Lee, do you think we're going to continue to see Alabama have a factory presence on the West Coast when it comes to recruiting?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it kind of sounds like a broken record, but he's continuing to go in to the West Coast and get some big wins. Jackson Lloyd, you were all over that, were able to get him in the fold over some California teams like Ohio State. So certainly Alabama, Kalen DeBoer continuing to prove himself all over the country, and don't anticipate this slowing down anytime soon.
All right, thanks, Brett. Well, you look at that, Alabama continues to show their national recruiting presence. Kalen DeBoer with those West Coast ties, Courtney Morgan, his general manager, going to the Southland to land Dijon Lee, the number 2 player in the state of California, a top 5 player at his position. The Tide don't appear to be slowing down anytime soon. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching Dijon Lee make his announcement for Alabama. Thanks to Brett Greenberg. I'm Brandon Huffman. Thanks for watching the 247 Sports YouTube channel.